Good morning, church. There's this term that I grew up with that really played out in my pastoral education. And the term is canon. I grew up with it because of comic books. Uh, and then later, as a pastor, canon became even more enriching. For comics, there's the main story of your Batmans, your Supermans, your Wonder Womans, and then they fire off some else worlds. That's usually what they call it. That's your comic book vocab for the day. Uh, to try to, it's just fun. It never interrupts the main story, but here's these kind of issues. This is an example. You got Superman there. Look at that. That's a whole lot different. Why? Because this is like the DC universe in the Old West. What happens if they were all cowboys? Fun. In the Bible, it's a bit more serious because we're talking about God and whatnot. But if you opened your Bible, you would see that there's a table of contents and there's books selected for you to pick from. And what some folks don't know is that there were books that didn't make it in. Those are non canonical books. and different experiences, whether it's of Jesus. There were a couple extra psalms in the Dead Sea Scrolls that weren't in our Bible. I think there's 152 with the Dead Sea Scrolls. Um, and so you have your accepted canon, and then you have outside the canon. And so outside the canon, whether that's the Apocrypha, which for our Catholic brothers and sisters is in their Bible, but still not canon entirely, they can be interesting and beautiful, but they're adjacent, right? They're secondary. For if you read those, I feel like it's reading whether it's Marvel's What If or this book I've got here. It can enrich, it can add depth and complexity. It can remind you what it is you truly love, whether it's about a character or what you really hold dear when it comes to your faith and your tradition. The difference is this comic here tells you right on the cover Elseworld. The Gospel of Thomas is not handed to us saying, I am not the Bible. That's not how it was written. Tobit didn't sit down to write theirs and say, this will be for Catholics, maybe. The point being, a community came together and decided. Now this is like the very first. Once people learn about canon, this actually gets people really mad that a community decided for us what will be in the canon. The rebellious spirit, the kind of American and Protestantism that says we don't like any authority, it should come from the people and who we are, despite the fact that we've inherited all of this. That kind of rises up for folks. And some of that's justified, not to diminish it at all. But I think that's an incomplete way to look at canon. For one thing, I think having Elseworlds and apocryphal books and deuteroapocryphal books and pseudepigraphal books, there's your seminary vocab for the day. Those are all the books that don't make it into the Bible. They've different classifications. They can really enrich the spiritual life. I mean, we can have them. You can read them. It's not a crime. Used to be, but it's not now. Eh, And the reason why they're so interesting is because they can remind you of the road not traveled. What would it have been like had the Gospel of Thomas been a part of the canon earlier? How would that have changed or shaped us? It could remind us that history is in our hands, what we make it to be. I think secondarily, like the value of a conversation about canon really comes in reminding us that it's a community, that the canon isn't a fence to keep outside stories out. having a canon isn't about deciding what isn't included. Having a canon is deciding as a community that we have the choice of what will shape us. What stories, what scriptures, what passages do we let inform how we are going to govern our lives, our churches, and our society? Yeah. So, what's in your canon? I mean, even I would admit that I have a canon in the canon. I have parts of the Bible I really struggle to find meaning around. What stories within one story do you find most nourishing, most guiding and developing? Well, something to think about, my friends. I'll see you.